This was dumb. It literally opened. He moved! What a surprise. Wait, I joked about how the doctor was so frozen he couldn't move. And then the first shot is like him stepping backwards. Yay! He moved! Wow, what a cliffhanger. And then they start firing at the thing. I did like the moment where what is it? Kate says, "Oh, one of these days shooting at her will work." They're like, "No, it won't. Stop doing it. Why is unit so useless and dumb?" I'm just like the links got destroyed. I'm literally replaying it as because just it's such a nothing bunch of chaos. I hope the birds will sing again. There will be birds. What is the dialogue in this episode, too? Like, towards the end, let me scan through this, because, like, the doctor runs all the way down to the car park. Like, the death thing is everywhere, supposedly, but they get all the way down to the car park, drive all the way back to unit, and memory just... So Ruby's mum, spoilers, like there's anything to spoil. Ruby's mum is no one. They literally have clips of Sutekh playing, like, the last episode they just didn't explain it for new viewers, and then the next episode they're like, well, the video is playing, go watch that. Ruby's mum is no one. Mel is contrivedly made corrupt for this episode. Kate and that die, so I instantly went, oh, then it can't be permanent, so they're fine. And then the whole world dies, and it's contrived and abstract, and like there's no I'm actually, I get Doctor Who is a like sci-fi almost superhero show that like end of the world is actually quite common, but I'm sick of everything's dead, everything's destroyed, the flux. Like, stop. Just all I wanted was some character development. And then this whole season I've found myself saying, well, there wasn't much character development, but it at least the spectacle's alright, at least it's entertaining. It's annoying me that that's all there is, but at least it's entertaining. We're kind of 50% there. But then, like, Sutekh flying through the space void looks terrible. And they literally showed, like, shots from the like, Susan thing in the... So the previously on showed who Susan was, but this season didn't bring her back at all. So the Susan bait was pointless. The Ruby bait was pointless. Mel being Sutekh, just like, this is what happens when you write a contrived mystery. There's no character development. The mystery is just the same repeated plot beat over and over again, and I know people are going to say, but Bad Wolf, but Torchwood. The thing is, they had character development along with it, so the plot development, despite being some background stuff, was background. It wasn't the whole thing. We didn't have to cling on to, well, Gatwa and Ruby are just two people with happy-go-lucky relationship. Like, they have no relationship, they're not developing the relationship. It feels like Gatwa just picked up Ruby and she went along with it. There's no actual, like, dynamic there. And then they get to this episode, and I'm like, fine. I gotta stop judging it by whether it has a character development or not. Because Gatwa's hardly been in 2 episodes. He couldn't move or ran away for 3 of them. And then one of them, he seemingly got a quest in finding Rogue, but couldn't be bothered trying. So then when we get to this, and see episode 7 is all a suddenly proactive rush, it's because the mystery is all we had. The myth, like, Gatwa showing up and saying, who is Susan Twist and who is Ruby's parents, are the only relatively meaningful thing in this show. Like, at this point, in this season. And then we get to this episode, and they literally do the, well, Ruby's mother is no one. It matters because it doesn't matter. It's clever how not important she is. Why bother setting something up and making it meaningful and paying it off with something that is actually built to, when we can just tease you with, why is it snowing? Why is it snowing? Why is it snowing? Because she's important to Ruby. No. No. Stop doing the Ralph Boner Rey Skywalker thing. Stop doing a whole season of mystery baiting and mystery box just to hit the end and go, well, but in real life, nothing's ever born important. But then don't do a who is Ruby's parents plot. Don't build it up like her parents are important if the whole message is they're not important. I get in real life people want to find their birth parents and probably discover that they're just some average person. But then you can do that in one episode. Don't bait us for 8 of them. This is nothing. And I kept telling myself, well, at the end it'll probably be like Susan, or like the doctor will find Susan will be Ruby's mum, and that'll combine the two things, and that'll at least be like 2 + 2. That'll be the most basic thing they could do. They didn't do that. I thought, well, she could be the god of life, and that'll be the most basic thing they can do. Because at the end of the day, it didn't matter what they did. At the end of the day, this is superficial, artificial mystery plotting, and there is no character development, there is no relationship, there is no meaning making. It's just baiting us with the same crap every episode of, look, Susan Twist showed up. And, but the actress name is Susan Twist, so because of outside information, she must be super, super important. Who is she? Well, she's no one, but conveniently she also has the god of death in her. There was no, people saw the references to Sutekh in the, meta references to the Fourth Doctor, but it wasn't a narrative being strung. This isn't like a brick-by-brick characters making choices and then actively discovering this stuff, and this stuff, messing with them, because the 3 levels of character dimension. They have character traits, they have how they think they are, how they feel they are as a person, and how they are seen by others. The surface traits. And Ruby and Gatwa, so Millie and Gatwa were giving it their all to give these people personality. But it's all in their performance. And then, if you give them, proper characters, so let's go with, Eggleston, where he had the Time War thing, right? He's on the surface, he's this mystery guy who's brooding about something. And, they talk about the oncoming storm and whatnot. But then, as Rose gets to know him, she recognizes that he has a second dimension. That is, he has this Time War backstory that he's struggling to get over. And you could argue, well, that's Gatwa being adopted. But they never go into it. They're doing literally what Chibnall did. They're mentioning it and not developing it. And then from the second dimension of Gatwa trying to get over his adoption thing, you have a third dimension. So Gatwa is making choices based on the fact that he is motivated by his adoption backstory. And then through character development, he changes his choices, which change his backstory and the parts that he feels matters to his internal psychology. And then by his psychology changing, his surface traits change. And he literally acts different. We literally see him as a different person. That's how an arc generally works. This is just they have surface traits. They're happy-go-lucky. They see Bridgerton and they get excited. Also, Ruby's adopted and she kind of maybe cares about that a little bit. And the third dimensions, we've had almost no character-defining actions. Gatwa gets upset the world died, but who wouldn't? This is the problem with End of the World stories. They're so abstract and they're so impersonal. So many stories think that it gets more deep and more personal because there's more destruction and more end of the world, apocalypse. So what could be bigger stakes than that? But it's not more personal stakes. You actually have to go down into like concrete, emotional, like direct ties, and not abstract up into the and then everything vanished. Like, it's too much and it's too shallow. So when you get to the end, and at best, we've got this shallow plotline developing, and then even that, you go, Ruby has the name, Ruby has the name. Okay, then say it. Stop repeating the same dialogue over and over again. Like, the amount of times they just kept saying the same phrase. The dialogue in this is terrible. And then, like, so I kept saying, okay, well then say the name. This isn't suspense, this is stalling. And then she's like, oh, I don't understand though, because the name is just some lady. And I'm like, yeah. Like, it's not clever. Did you not see Rise of Skywalker? It's not clever. It's not, people have done, like, it's not even, you're not doing anything new. You know, it's not a twist on it. All you're doing is saying, this is something, this is something, this is something. We're not going to tell you what it is yet, but this is definitely something. Ha, gotcha. It's nothing. And that's not meaningful. Like, you could, because, like Ruby said, but then if she's so ordinary, why is she able to cloak herself from the thing? And Gat was like, oh, it's because we believe it is. No, here's the problem. Suspension of disbelief. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that she's important. I believe the story was telling me she was supposed to be. But it just, you can't. It's disappointing. Like, stop sacrificing character development and relationships and going inward on your characters and developing them as people. Stop ignoring that. Just to go, here's this thing, and we're not going to give you any more information than that. We're just going to keep repeatedly showing you the thing. We're going to keep saying the phrase, Ralph, until you go, hang on, they keep mentioning that. So it must be important because they keep focusing on it. And then you get to the end and you go, Ralph Boner. Stop it. Writers, you actually need to write. You can't just do some meta wordplay and then skip on the character stuff and then defeat the god with, well, he's death, so I'm life. Like, we predicted that because that was the dumbest, simplest thing we could think of. Like, well, it's death, so, you know, the opposite is life. But you didn't build to how that's possible. It's just nonsense. It just stalls and stalls until Sutekh is uber powerfully defeated. Because, I don't know. Oh yeah, and Gatler meets a lady for 5 minutes and then she gets her kid back. Isn't that nice? What a waste of time. Like, we should care about this lady, and the speech in it is nice, but it's just a bunch of stuff. Like, we should have a really personal, direct thing from Gatler because he's adopted, so he cares more about people and their children. But he's as compassionate about it as any other doctor would be, right? We're not defining this doctor uniquely. He's just nice and cries sometimes. So when he screams at the end because the entire world is gone, I don't feel any difference. Because, like, if you're upset at everything, then there's no nuance when something actually upsetting happens. Like, you get what I mean? Like, it's fine for him to cry as a character, but it just felt like a contrived minute where they stop the plot to zoom up on his face so he can shed a tear. And I wasn't feeling it. So then when in this episode he's like, everything's dead, I'm like, yeah, but it'll come back, it's fine. Like, I literally wasn't with him on this. Like, the world is ending, and I just went, it'll be fine. And they kept trying to insist, everything's dead. No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I've seen this before. I've seen Davies do this before. Like, we did this in the 60th 3 times. Like, stop setting up this massive, the lava is destroying the world. we're at the end of the universe and the not things are gonna take the ship. No, they're not. No, they're not. I don't believe your stakes anymore. I don't believe you. Suspension of disbelief is dead. And, like, at the very least, I kept trying to hang on to, like, okay, I can't believe that the characters are really in danger, because when Ruby dies, I instantly know that means this situation's reversible. But at the very least, you'd think they'd at least have an answer for Ruby, other than we couldn't think of one. So she's some lady. That was not worth 8 episodes. Mentioning 73 yards is not the same as a payoff. You can't just, like, if during this episode they'd have gone, oh, wow, Ruby, we thought Ruby was a space baby, but she's not. That wouldn't make the first episode relevant. You can just cut that line. You didn't build. This is just, it's just a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm disappointed that even the spectacle was bad. And even the mystery box was bad. It's bad. There's moments in this that should be good. Like, the directing is giving it all. The acting's giving it all. But you start off with Gatwa walking backwards from the thing so he can dodge it. Like, he can avoid being killed by Sutekh. But all these other people just like, oh no, it got me. Move, run, do something. Just like units dumb, the memory TARDIS, and so defeating Sutekh with memory just, and Sutekh's been there the whole time. No, like why are we? I thought we all agreed to some extent that the hybrid arc in Hellbent was not well done. The Flux was a bad idea. The Timeless Children was a bad idea. And this season feels like both of those. Just pew pew pew. Don't think about it. Don't care. That's what's so frustrating about this. By it being so spectacle plot heavy, and then this episode be like, oh, I can't believe, Ruby found her mum again, and now she's got her family, but now it's more of a family. So that's something. That's a change. No one we built to. Like, even if you're building to a regular lady, you should still hint at who this regular lady is. You can't just bait us with no information except magical snow and then say the answer was nothing magical. How could you think otherwise? So I'm meant to care that Ruby is leaving, and I just went, glad it's over. I found Ruby kind of boring, and all she had going for her was the mystery box, and the mystery box didn't matter. Like, it's like I loved Face the Raven. Clara left on a really, really good note, but the amount of time she killed her made it really hard to care when she died. Like, I just don't care. I don't care. I hate I hate it. It's so contrived. That's what it is. They went out of their way not to develop the characters, to make it feel like it was just an episodic, self-contained anthology of random concepts. And then you get to the end and it acts like it built up a genuine relationship between Gatwa and Ruby, even though the first we saw of it was them skipping 6 months. You've missed all the actual story. It feels like they cut 4 episodes and they actually had the plot in them. This is bad. Whatever, I'm sorry if this comes across as mean-spirited, because I really like Gatwa as the Doctor. Whatever they've got for season 2, scrap it. You can't bait us for this long and say all the important plot beats were all the extra stuff like the TARDIS groaning and things like. Remember Wild Boar Yonder? Remember that one moment in Wild Boar Yonder? That was the only storytelling setup here. I mean, obviously not the only, like, because they repeated that a few times, but like the important parts in these episodes are the least important parts of those episodes. And what's seemingly important in those episodes is a waste of time. Also, how is Mal dead and still going? Can they conceal their deadness now? Anyway, like, you can't bait me all this time about who Ruby's mother is, and then turn around in your last final moments and go, oh, but who's Mrs. Flood? Who gives a crap? You just told us you're willing to go, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Gotcha, no one. Mrs. Flood, let's just assume Mrs. Flood is some lady. Why should we invest? Why? Why should new viewers care who Sutekh is? Why should old viewers care who Ruby is? Why should anyone care who Mrs. Flood is? How is this? They brought Davies back and we defended it on with good writing. You know, we kind of needed it at this point, but I feel like I just saw RTD do what Chibnall did. With more lively actors. But it's just more noise and nonsense. And was supposed to... You baited a mystery box, subverted it with no one, and now want us to care about next season's mystery box. Give me characters to care about. Give me relationships between those characters to care about. I don't care where they come from. I don't care about this shallow thing you tease. As if it's going to mean something eventually. Make it mean something now. Make your story significant in real time. Because anyone can do a magic trick where they go, I've got something in my hand. What is it? You go, I don't know. They're like, oh, well, but you see, there might be a coin, there might be a handkerchief, there might be anything. You go, that's nice, but what's actually in there? And then they open their hands, they go, nothing. You go, oh, well then why did you sit there telling me to guess? What was the point? And then you go, well, because there was a coin in there, but I made it vanish. You go, I didn't see that. What? I didn't see any of that. You just told me to guess what was in there and there was nothing in there. I know, but you see, the magic trick was there was going to be something and there wasn't. You're a disappointing magician if you do that. This is bad storytelling, just straight up. I hate this. Look, I'm not just disappointed. It actually took the only things I thought was good about this season and reminded me those aren't good either. Like, congratulations, you have a bigger budget. The budget still made the CGI babies look bad. And Sutekh looks ridiculous when he's flying through the space thingy. I didn't buy any of it was happening. Suspension of belief is dead. Yeah, that's, I'm sure, individual things will bother me. It felt like they just went from thing to thing with no reason or rhyme. Like, Gatwell was there during the Rudyard Gilliam. Who cares? So what? Like, it just... I can't care about the episodes individually. Boom was interesting. Rogue was interesting. But now both of them feel like self-contained, semi-decent episodes. This feels like season 7, where it's like, that one was not so bad. And that's the best you can say about it. This was... Again, this isn't just like season 14 extended. This is season 1, supposedly. Season 1, and they're doing a big, oh no, Sutekh's back plot. Season 1, and you've already taught people not to invest in developing a mystery. You've already taught people the best that they can expect from a mystery is, I don't know, some random thing. Random writing is contrived. Real life is random, but that's not TV. Like, TV comes with suspension of disbelief and a conceit we're meant to buy into, an emotional investment, and building layers, because TV actually has writers behind them that can intentionally make things meaningful. If you as a writer can just go, oh, I don't have to write anything, I can just do whatever random thing I want, then you may as well let AI write it. Because it doesn't matter what happens. Random writing teaches you it doesn't matter what happens. And if it doesn't matter, there's no point following it. This is a bad episode that concludes a bad season. There's some decent stuff in it, but this was the worst way to go about your best foot forward. Yeah, they wasted this. And I'm going to leave a few seconds so you can check out my other videos. Here's hang on. Yep, there they are. Bye.